about archive content, you generally think of a program and anything, but in the digital world, when you make a copy, it's a bit like files at home, where you can make more than one copy at a time in different qualities. Now we need to do that because we need to keep a high quality preservation file, and we need to kind of future-proof that file, so we don't want software or proprietary things from companies which mean that if we try to access that file in the future and it's been made in a funny way that we don't own or can unpick, we want to try and have open source file structures and things. So what we do is we have a very high quality file, and that's preserved on data tape, and that's stored in a remote place from other copies. Then we have medium copies for editing and general use, and we have multiple copies of those. It's not just one copy. The reason we do that is we have what's called desktop delivery in the BBC. So if you need a clip, particularly audio, it's quite easy. You can actually download clips yourself from the archive, and you can do that for low quality video as well if you just want to preview something. Up to about 2 years ago, it tended to be DVDs. If you wanted something that got delivered to your desk, and if you were in another part of the country, then you'd have to wait for the overnight van. But now you can do, we've got our own internal iPlayer, if you like, and it's just everything, and you can stream something as soon as it's broadcast. I mean, like within 30 seconds, it's in the system. And what's good about that is that people don't have to bug the archive about copies. It sounds strange, but the archive can get on with preservation and cataloguing and all those other things. And people can self-manage access. Unless they want specialist help, which of course they're willing to do, for just everyday copies of something they've got online, the database, then they can just request download and get a copy of it. Yeah, sure.
Now, the high quality sync in the on the same server or the same storage, or it's offline?
No, it's offline, and we do. It may have changed, but the idea is you have 3 copies. You have on different sites, so you never want your master material stored with your other material, so that if there are fires or anything like that, you really want them.
So they want the high quality and the medium are offline?
No, the medium one is safe because we can always make a copy from the backup. But the medium one we need to keep for editing and for making DVDs, MP2 DVDs. The BBC, as you know, through its commercial arm, makes thousands and thousands of DVDs they sell in the BBC online or in the BBC shops in the UK. So the BBC is also a manufacturer of programs. You know, we sell programs, so we need those medium copies to make those different versions. The other thing is we make different versions for different countries. If you think of wildlife programs or dramas, sometimes for reasons in that country, we have to have different versions. It can be language or scenes of a certain nature. We have to edit them out. So we have different versions of programs. And they all have to be tracked in the archive as well. And then we spoke about cataloguing styles and terminology for public and educational users. When the archive was created, the cataloguing, it was for professionals. So you would have the time a clip was in, and it would use short codes like MCU, meant medium close-up. Because you only had so many characters you could put in the description box, we created short-term terminology. But of course for public-facing, that's completely useless, and in fact it would be irritating. So for public access, you need, I call it clean metadata or natural language. You need to be able to have the metadata so they can understand it. And that takes a lot of work, and you can't do it for everything. Some things you just can't catalogue because it will take too much work. That's something you have to do. And then the terminology is changing. The word digitization wouldn't have been in our archives up to many years ago. And then new workflows to prepare content for digitization. This is something we probably need to pay attention to for later today, is when you set up a workflow, there's a lot of preparatory work. It's a bit like decorating a house. Well, you just don't go and paint the wall, do you? It has to be cleaned, brushed, and smoothed out any imbalances. But if you think about analog material or old artifacts or anything, they have to have some preparation. And that has to be in your plan, because you have to know how long it will take, who will do it, and those kinds of things. And then it's not a problem, but then you start to have dependency on IT skills and those things. People see these as problems, but they're not, because we found, if we get time, we'll have a video later, is that there were some staff in the archive who've naturally learned new skills and are taking on IT skills, and I'm one of those people, so that's fine. And the other thing to say is that people talk about jobs changing and other changes. Actually, everything in our life is changing, and my job's changed even from a year ago. I welcome it, and I would say that don't think about change as something that isn't happening now. It's happening in most of our lives. And lastly on this slide, the factory approach. For preservation, the real saving in cost is a factory approach. So it's about doing things in a fairly large scale, if possible, at the same time, to reduce your costs and time scales. If someone's going to give you funding, they often want to know how long is it going to take. And the key thing is, the quicker you do it with the machines working and the right people, you save a lot of money. You start to build up, as we did, material which was faulty or didn't make a good transfer the first time, and then you have to allow time at the end of the day for a kind of quality or high maintenance of the ones which were problem tapes. These could be tapes which are sticky, or they got tape damage or twisted in use, particularly news material. News material is used heavily in reuse, if you think about it. So those tapes get shuffled up and down in editing, and they get damaged. So you need to always get special care. With film and audio, what's really nice is that when you open a film can or an audio can of tape, you can put your hand across it and just see the general condition of it. Obviously, you don't know the quality of the signal on audio, but you can see if someone's mistreated it largely just by turning it over. And also, if the middle core is loose, it generally means it hasn't been used for a while because it's unpacked itself, and that's quite nice because then you know.